I can't say enough about this gentleman. We had a seminar with him yesterday, and something shifted, I think, in everybody that was here. Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons he has written several books, and we talked about yesterday is nothing and no one is against you. And how true that is when you finally come into that awakening and that understanding that we are creative beings and we are creating everything. And this morning's talk is enough of not enough. I agree with you. Enough. It's enough. We've done with it. My pleasure this morning to introduce to you a man that is so clear and is on his journey and his pathway, and he is willing to share it with us. Reverend Dr. Gary Simmons.
So are you ready to kick not enough in its ass? Yes. No more not enough, right? So I just want to give you a sense of context for what I'd like to share with you this morning. Many years ago, I had a small church in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I was asked to host a couple of Hindu monks who were coming through town and wanted to speak at my church, and then provide individuals with readings. They were from the Jyotish lineage, which is, they were astrologers. And so they offered a free reading for me in exchange for in appreciation for having spoken at the church. And in that reading, they told me that my mission was to prove that nothing and no one was against me. Now, I got to tell you, why do I have to be the one to prove that nothing and no one is against us? Here I was a minister in a church, and I had all kinds of people against me. I mean, I had my board, I had the music people, I had all my past wife experiences. Dr. Jim got that from me. I went through a midwife crisis, and then it led to a change of wife. The point is that I had all the evidence in my life to believe that there were exceptions to this principle that there's just God going on. I mean, isn't it true that there seems as if there are exceptions? But, our practice, our teaching, we don't have the luxury of being able to just say, okay, this is what I'm having, isn't it awful? Because the truth is that we have to reconcile what we're having as our experience and the principles around which we're seeking to align. Isn't that not true? And so if there's just God going on and I have an exception to that, then the exception is really something inside of me. There's a part of me that is living in a kind of disconnect. So whenever we have someone or something against us, it's a mirror unto that part of ourself that is living in the disconnect. And so part of my journey right now, after having spent 20 years demonstrating to myself that no, the source of your well-being and the source of your discomfort is not out there. So stop trying to fix what's going on out there. The source of your well-being, the source of your discomfort is inside. So let's look at how we can do that inner work so what's going on out there shows up in a way that is aligned with the principle that there's just God going on. And so in my journey of really resolving the experience of having someone or something against me, I discovered that when I was very young, I took on certain beliefs about myself that weren't the truth of me. For instance, do you have a belief about yourself that there's a part of you that's not good enough? Anybody? Okay, well, why do you have that belief? How did you acquire it? And so this is kind of what we need to begin to explore, that part of ourself that is still living in the disconnect, and see if we can't restore that connection to our sense of wholeness and our sense of purpose. And so I'm going to be talking about my sense of not enough. Right now, I am living with a sense of not enough. Anybody else living with a sense of not enough? Just remember, it's just a fur ball. Just let it go. Let me put it this way. How many of you would like to have more money in your life right now? Raise your hand. There we go. Raise the other hand. Okay. So I'm wanting us to look at how is it possible that we have these wonderful teachings and we're still living with this sense of not enough. And for me, it's important to resolve this because I just feel that when I am experiencing not enough, there's just something really wrong with my world, and I find myself trying to fix it out there. Do you have that same kind of experience? I want to share some ideas from a couple of wonderful authors. The first is from Lynn Twist, from her book called The Soul of Money. And she says this: "For me, and for many of us, our first waking thought of the day is, I didn't get enough sleep." And then the next one is, I don't have enough time. Whether true or not, that thought of not enough occurs to us automatically before we even think to question or examine it. We spend most of our hours and days of our lives hearing, explaining, complaining, worrying about what we don't have enough of. We don't have enough exercise, we don't have enough work, we don't have enough profits, we don't have enough power, we don't have enough weekends, and of course, we don't have enough money ever. She goes on to say that we're not thin enough, we're not smart enough, we're not pretty enough, fit enough, rich enough, ever. Before we even sit up in bed, before our feet touch the floor, we're already inadequate, already behind, already losing, already lacking something. And by the time we go to bed at night, our minds race with a litany of what we didn't get or didn't get done. Our minds are racing all the time. We go to sleep burdened by those thoughts and wake up to the reverie of lack. What begins as a simple expression of a harried life or even a challenged life grows into the great justification for an unfulfilled life. I don't know about you, but I can relate. I can relate to this idea. And as I look back and reflect upon my life and my journey, I can see how as a very young person, as little Gary, I can just picture little Gary right now, and all the ways in which not enough began to creep into his consciousness. You know, I was the eldest of four boys, and every night at dinner time, it seemed like there wasn't enough food. Ever grow up in a household where it didn't seem like there was enough food? And always my parents were talking about having not enough money. Anybody have conversations in your household about not enough money? You know, it's easy for us to see that all of us were exposed or brought into a world where not enough seemed to be the default way of how life is. There's not enough. And so I can see how little Gary inside continues to live as if that's the truth, as if that's the reality. You know, if you look into your wallet or purse and count how much money that's in there, what makes it not enough? It's not the amount that makes it not enough. It's us making it not enough, isn't it? And you know, if we look at the latest research, we're told that most people in our Western society live 20% below their means. In other words, if we had only 20% increase, we would have enough. But guess what? They also found out that once people get that extra 20%, they'll make that amount not enough in a short period of time. Even people who win the lottery have millions of dollars. They can make those millions of dollars not enough in very short order. So there's a dynamic that we need to understand and address if we're going to shift not only what's happening in our own individual lives, but what's going on in the world, because what we see that's happening in the world that's underlying much of the conflict, much of the strife, is this sense of not enough. And so we struggle to have what we feel that we need in order to be okay about ourselves. You know, and so if we understand that we have acquired a belief about ourselves that we're not enough, if we understand the context of how we acquired those beliefs, then we can just sort of see, okay, I have a belief in not enough, and that is what is creating lack in my life. And let's just sort of name it, acknowledge it, so that we can begin to work with it. I'd like to share one other quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he has in his latest book called You Are the Placebo, he shares this. He says, newborns spend the vast majority of their days in the delta brainwave state. In other words, we have brainwaves. There's delta, there's theta, there's alpha, and there's beta brainwaves. And the brainwave dynamic indicates not only the level of activity and busyness in our brain, but in some ways, especially with respect to the development of young people, the maturity of their brain. In other words, as our brain waves increase and become more prevalent with respect to moving up the wavelengths, then our cognitive capacity begins to grow and is engaged. Anyway, he goes on to say that during the first 12 years, children gradually progress to the theta state and then to the alpha state before they get to the beta state, where they'll spend most of their adulthood in. Theta and alpha are highly suggestible brainwave states. Young children do not yet have an analytical mind to edit or to make sense of what happens to them, so all the information they absorb from their experiences is encoded directly into their subconscious minds. Because of increased suggestibility, the moment they feel emotionally altered from some experience, they are conditioned to form associative memories connecting that cause to the emotion of the experience, to the motion of the experience itself. So in other words, when as a little boy or little girl, we had something happen in a moment that we needed things to be a certain way and it didn't happen, we took on a belief about ourselves. I'm not okay, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, there's something wrong with me, I'm a disappointment, life is not safe, I'm not enough. And if we can just acknowledge, okay, I have taken on this belief, but while I have this belief is not the truth of me. It's just simply that's operating, and because we co-create our world, we are co-creating the lack in our life because of that sense of not enough. So our work is not to try to get more out there. Our work is to try to resolve that inner incongruence, because if the truth is I'm divine, I'm spirit, then if I have a belief that I'm not enough, it has to show up out there, doesn't it? It has to, because otherwise there's no motivation for me to work on it. But the problem is I try to work and fix what's going on out there as opposed to really look at what's going on with little Gary and how that's still operating in me. In Scripture, there's a verse quoted, attributed to Jesus, who said, "For whosoever has, it shall be given, even more than enough. But whosoever has not, even that which they have, it shall be taken away." So whenever we have something and we're naming it not enough, it's as if not only is that insufficient, but we find ourselves living in an insufficient universe. And that which we have seems to be insufficient. And if we just focus on money, for instance, just for a moment, and see and just observe how our entire being collapses around that sense of not enough, we can sort of see that we're doing it to ourselves, that it's not happening to us, we are doing it to ourselves. And so there needs to be there needs to be a reset. We need to reset, so to speak. And the reset is that whatever we have is our abundance. Whatever we have is our abundance. That's where we have to begin. Okay, so notwithstanding all the things that I make up about what I'm having with respect to, well, the bills I have to pay or the things that I want to do, let's just start with the reset. No, whatever I have is my abundance. Now, the next step is that we have to be with what we have as if it's unto us our abundance. And the proper emotional state of being with whatever we're having in the context of abundance is that we have to feel gratitude. We have to be grateful for whatever we have, regardless of how it looks or feels. Can you see how that's important? Because we have to align ourselves with the way principle works so that our entire being is aligned with principle. Not just one part, not just the head, but our heart, our entire consciousness and awareness. And then once I'm able to really be in a state of gratitude for the abundance of all that I have, and to be able to expand that beyond just what's in my wallet, but what's in my life, the family, the friends, the colleagues, the opportunities, the community, there is a surrounding presence of abundance in my life. And so I have to refrain from collapsing that infinite field of abundance into this small, minute sense of not enough that money tends to hook me into. And it's a struggle. It's not easy to do that. You have to work at it. And the way you work at it is reset. No, this that I have is my abundance. And now I have to feel the gratitude for having this abundance in my life. And then what I do with what I have is the next thing. And what we do with money usually is spend it, or give it away, or sometimes keep it. But if we don't have enough of it, well then, it seems to just come and go. And there's not much that we are doing about it, other than it's just watching it come and go. Well, we need to start paying attention. And if there's a need to give from that place of gratitude, not from that sense of not enough. And when it comes to us, receive it in a sense of gratitude, not in the sense of not enough. So the next thing that I'm wanting us to understand, remember there's the reset, what I have is my abundance. Next is a sense of gratitude and appreciation for what I have. Then third, it's a sense of extending that, being a part of the flow out of a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to share, to move this energy through me. The final thing is to begin to dive deeply into our mind and heart and find that little boy or little girl in us and bring that little boy and little girl into the abundance that they never felt. Are you ready to do that now? Okay, so I'm going to grab a chair. I'm going to invite you just to relax. And just feel the abundance of just being here. And it's okay, we all have this sense of not enough, but just for right now, let's just relax in this moment. This is one moment where we're just going to allow the fullness and richness of the presence be our experience of abundance. And I invite you to pretend with me. Not imagine, but pretend. So let's just pretend that we have a picture album on our lap. You may even want to put your hands as if it's in your lap right now. Just hold it. And in this photo album, there's as many pages as you are in years. So for me, there's 64 pages in my book. And I want you just to, in your mind's eye, just go to the very last page, which is blank because that's tomorrow, that's next year. But the one that's for this year right now, I just want you to imagine a picture of yourself. It's a selfie. Such as you are, there you are. Just see it. And you know that that how you look is not who you are, but it's just how you've shown up in front of your cell phone or in front of somebody else's. And it's just taking a snapshot. And now I invite you to go back to near the beginning of this book. And I want you to see yourself, imagine a picture of yourself as a toddler, 1 or 2 years old. And perhaps you have a picture of yourself, maybe you can recall it. See the little boy or little girl that you are looking into the camera. Maybe someone is trying to get you to smile. But just go back and remember that little one that you are. It's still inside of you. It's a part of yourself that perhaps you haven't altogether really embraced. And so just look into the eyes of this little child that you see before you. Understand that this little child has had lots of experiences. There were times when what was needed was love or protection. And for whatever reason, that wasn't possible. And so we can speak to that little boy or little girl. We can say, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you took on beliefs about yourself. I'm sorry that you had times when you had moments that were difficult, painful. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. And so, please forgive me. Please forgive me for having left you alone for so long. For in some ways having abandoned you. Please know that I am now present and aware that you are a part of me and that I am here for you, that whenever there's a moment that touches you, that reminds you that you weren't enough, I'm going to change that thought. Because you are enough. You are more than enough. And say to that little one, I love you. I love you so much. I want you to hear that and receive that and know that, because love is who you are. And while there have been so many moments when I have not been there for you, you can know from now on you will never be alone again, because I am here for you. And so thank you. Thank you for being who you've come here to be. For you are the one and I am never going to leave you alone again. And so now in your mind's eye, let us continue to carry with us a sense of that little one inside. A little one that is now free from having to carry that tremendous burden of not enough. As we move closer to this moment, as we bring all of our awareness back to this place and time, and just take one last look in this photo album at that very last page, the page that is yet to be colored in. And we see ourselves, our life, and the abundance that is a part of our journey. And we imagine for ourselves, from this moment forward, not only embracing the abundance that surrounds us in gratitude, thanksgiving, but sharing that abundance with that little one. And so for this opportunity to rediscover that part of ourself that has lived so long separate, we know now that that moment, that time is dissolving away, where that little one and the big person that we think that we are now one. For this abundance, we are grateful. So it is.